The Legend of Zelda games feature a mixture of puzzles, action, adventure, battle, gameplay, and exploration. These elements have remained constant throughout the series, but with refinements and additions featured in each new game, later games in the series also include stealth gameplay where the player must avoid enemies while proceeding through a level, as well as racing elements. Although the games can be beaten with a minimal amount of exploration and side quests, the player is frequently rewarded with helpful items and increased abilities for solving puzzles or exploring hidden areas. Some items are consistent and appear many times throughout the series, such as bombs, bomb flowers, which can both be used as weapons to unblock or open up hidden doorways, boomerangs, which can kill or paralyze enemies, keys for locked doors, magic swords, shields, and bomb arrows, while others are unique to just a single game. Though the games contain many role-playing elements, example Zelda 2 The Adventure of Link is the only one that includes an experience system, they emphasize straightforward hack-and-slash style combat over strategic, turn-based, or active time combat, such as games like Final Fantasy. The game's role-playing elements, however, have led to some debate over what the game should be classified as, whether it is an action role-playing game. The Legend of Zelda theme is a recurring piece of work that was created for the first game of the franchise. The composer and sound director of the series, Koji Kondo, initially planned to use Maurice Ravel's Boreal as the game's title theme, but was forced to change it when he learned late in the game's development cycle that the copyright for the orchestral piece had not yet expired. As a result, Kondo wrote a new arrangement for an overworld theme within one day. The Zelda theme has topped Screw Attack's top 10 video game theme lists ever. Due to strict copyright laws as of late, I was unable to add any of the orchestral music, which is a shame because it is extremely beautiful. Did you know, up until Breath of the Wild, the Legend of Zelda series avoided using voice acting in the speaking roles, relying instead on written dialogue? Series producer Eiji Aonuma, sorry if I mispronounced that, previously stated that as Link is entirely mute, having the other characters speak while Link remains silent would be off-putting. Also, in Breath of the Wild, there will be a different approach to the music in which that there will be no theme music for different locations. Instead, the main sound is a natural ambiance around the player, in addition to some more minimalist piano music. The Legend of Zelda was principally inspired by Shigeru Miyamoto's explorations as a young boy in the hillsides, forests, and caves surrounding his childhood home in Japan, where he ventured into forests with scheduled lakes, caves, and rural villages. According to Miyamoto, one of his most memorable experiences was the discovery of a cave entrance in the middle of the woods. After some hesitation, he apprehensively entered the cave and explored its depths with the aid of a lantern. The chronology of the Legend of Zelda series was subject to much debate among fans until an official timeline was released on December 21, 2011. Within the collector's book Hyrule Historia, which was originally exclusive to Japan and only was later released to the United States and Canada. Prior to its release, producers confirmed the existence of a confidential document which connected all the games. Certain materials and developer statements once partially established an official timeline of the release installments. So, to the best of our knowledge as of right now, it goes Zelda 2 The Adventures of Link is a direct sequel to the original Legend of Zelda, and that takes place several years later. The third game, A Link to the Past, is a prequel to the first two titles, and is directly followed by Link's Awakening. Ocarina of Time is a prequel to that, and that takes the stories back many centuries. According to character designer Satoru Takizawa, it was meant to implicitly tell the imprisoning war story from a manual that was found in A Link to the Past, with Majora's Mask directly following that ending. Skyward Sword is then a prequel to Ocarina of Time. Twilight Princess is set more than 100 years after Ocarina of Time. The Wind Waker is parallel and takes place in the other timeline branch, more than a century after the adult era of the Ocarina of Time. Phantom Hourglass is a continuation of the story from the Wind Waker, and is followed by Spirit Tracks, which is set about 100 years later on a supercontinent far away from the setting of the Wind Waker. At the time of its release, Four Swords for the Game Boy Advance was considered the oldest tale in the series chronologically, with Four Sword Adventures set sometime after its event. The Minish cap precedes the two games, telling us the origins of the villain, Viety, and the creation of the Four Swords. A Link Between Worlds takes place 6 generations after Link to the Past. Important events that occurred in the game include the Triforce being reunited and Ganon being resurrected. Honestly, myself, I've always just liked the idea that The Legend of Zelda is just a story that gets told over and over again, like it's a children's story or a myth, or just like in the title, it's a legend. They just keep telling the story of the hero of time. That's the way I like to think of it anyway. The background, the environment, the world is always set in wherever the person is telling the story, so it makes it more relatable to the people they're telling, but it always has the same core aspects. Link, Zelda, Ganon, good, triumphing over evil, saving the princess, doing right, and, they always just tell the story of Link and Zelda. In the same way that all around the world there's stories of Santa Claus, yet Santa Claus has different names, or he dresses differently, or he gives different gifts, but everyone's got a concept of who he is. And speaking of those characters, the central protagonist of the Legend of Zelda series, Link is the name of various young men who characteristically wear a green tunic and a pointed hat, and is the bearer of the Triforce of Courage, or also called the Hero of Time. Link does not speak, he only produces grunts, yells, or similar sounds. Despite the player not seeing the dialogue, it is referenced secondhand by the in-game characters that you're speaking to that he is in fact not mute. Link is shown as a silent protagonist so that the audience is able to have their own thoughts as to how Link would answer these questions instead of having him have scripted responses. Princess Zelda is the Princess of Hyrule and the guardian of the Triforce of Wisdom. Her name is present in many of her female ancestors and descendants. While most titles require Link to save Zelda from Ganon, she does sometimes play a supporting role in battle, using magical powers and weapons such as the light arrows to aid Link. With the exception of the CDI games, which we're not talking about, she was not a playable character in the main series until Spirit Tracks. There is a rumor that she was named after the American novelist Zelda Fitzpatrick. And last of the three is Ganondorf. Ganon, also known as Ganondorf in his humanoid form, is the main antagonist and the final boss in a majority of the Zelda games. In the series, Ganondorf is the leader of a race of desert people called Gerudo, which consist entirely of female warriors save for the one man born every 100 years. He is significantly taller than the other human NPCs, unplayable characters, but his look does vary in between games. Often, he takes the form of a monstrous, anthropomorphic boar. His specific motives vary from game to game, and he is also the holder of the Triforce of Power. Link, Zelda, and Ganon have been in a steady stream of video games, crossovers, canceled games, LCD games, CDI games, different spin-offs, and also there's been a TV cartoon series, print media with various comics and novels, music CDs that have been released over the years. Another potential film, I keep hearing stories about something on Netflix coming out, which I would absolutely love. There's even been a Monopoly game of Legend of Zelda. Now with the release of the Nintendo Switch, Breath of the Wild is the newest Legend of Zelda game, and I'm only a few hours in, but I absolutely love this game. You can explore, go anywhere you want. It's just so beautiful. It's fantastic. Every game is different, but every game feels the same in a good way, and I'm really enjoying it. And I hope you enjoyed this video about The Legend of Zelda 1986 to 2017. Until next time, guys, this is going to hit the note for Loch Ness Monster. I really appreciate you checking out this video. And, you know, if you want to hit that like button, I'd appreciate that also. Don't forget to check out these videos that pop up on the sides as well if you want to see more Loch Ness Monster. Thanks a lot. Take care.